Hey, what up, world? It's your brother T Ben here with another video message. Today I'm going to be discussing, I'm actually re-uploading a video I've done before, but today I want to explain it a little bit better and why I'm doing it. It's covering race, the way we use it, the origins of it, based off some research that I've done. And what I'm going to be reading from today is, I'm reading a book by Dr. Claude Anderson called Powernomics, the National Plan to Empower Black America. Okay. Powernomics, the National Plan to Empower Black America. Very powerful read, but I want to cover a couple of things out the book that I think is very important in understanding how we use the word race today and how it came to be. All right. So, race, racism, and wealth. Although slavery and Jim Crow semi-slavery ended generations ago, their legacies live on in various forms of structural racism. Contrary to popular notions about the concept of race, it is more than a biological grouping. Race is about financial, political, and social currencies. It is a form of stored wealth and power. Whiteness has monetary value. Knowing the origin and nature of the value of race is essential to any analysis of Black America's dilemma. It is important that blacks know why the race problem refuses to die and how it is used to keep them a non-competitive and powerless group. The word race first appeared with the emergence of the slave practice in the 16th century. Records indicate the word race was selected because the various European slave trading nations were in a contest competing to profit from the mineral and human wealth of Africa. The prize for winning the race was the power to develop Western civilization using the wealth extracted out of Africa. Black people were non-competitors of the race. In the race. They were the prizes, so they neither could play nor win. Okay, so keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. It's important. All right. Let's continue here. All the competing slave trading nations, religions, and ethnic groups benefited and were advantaged by black slavery. Slavery is most often approached in social and moral terms. It is seldom discussed in terms of the primary incentive that undergirded the slave trade, wealth building. Slavery must always be explained in monetary terms. Throughout the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries, organized religion used doctrines to justify slave trading. During this same period, botanists and others in the biological sciences were studying and attempting to stratify plants and animals based upon their biological similarities and differences. They ordered plants and animals by species. Though it took nearly 300 years, the concept of race eventually merged with the concept of biological species. By that time, white Europeans had secured nearly total control of the world's wealth and resource powers. Their new concept of race established superiority on the basis of who controlled the wealth, power, and resources at that particular time in history. Let me stop right there. That shows you that it wasn't about the color of their skin, how they consider themselves, superior. It was based on the wealth, power, and resources at that particular time in history. That's how it started. Now, continuing on. Wealth, power, and privileges became the prerogatives of non-blacks. Through intellectual sleight of hand, race became synonymous with the term species in the mid-1800s. At that time, Charles Darwin developed the concept of biological race in its Origin of the Species, and it quickly became popular. Often called the survival of the fittest, Darwin's theories, as well as a number of other quasi-scientific concepts, were used by educators, politicians, and religious leaders, to justify black slavery and establish a qualitative ranking of inherited genes and human fitness. Okay, continuing here. Naturally, those controlling the wealth and power put their cultural values and biological characteristics at the top of the racial order and blacks at the bottom, beneath Caucasians and Mongols or Asians. All the major European religious denominations at the time used the Bible to teach racial ranking with implicit black inferiority. During the black civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s, the concept of biological races was intentionally expanded to include cultural, religious, ethnic, and non-Spanish speaking language groups which were competing with black people for rights, space, and privileges. The concept of race was then diluted to an attitudinal level, and the term racism was used interchangeably with such terms as bias, prejudice, bigotry, and discrimination. Now, the term racism has become so amorphous that it has little meaning and is applied to all so-called minorities. If black Americans are to resolve and reverse the legacies of slavery, they must view and treat racism based upon its original meaning and intent. Now, here in 2013, that says a lot, looking at the origins of it and how it came to be, and how we today are quick to call each other a racist based off what it became to be, not where it started. So if we are to start looking at it in terms of monetary use, wealth, and power building, wealth building and power, then we will understand how we in this predicament today, because we were, I guess, supposed to be a non-competitive group. And this is back to my point that I always make about how we need to economize ourselves in order to be a competitive group and either partake in this race, win the race, or at least bring something to the table. Because if you're too busy concerned with the race as it became to be based off these, plants, as they say, and animals, then you will continue to lose, because the original intent was about building wealth, and it's a political thing as well. So, and I guess retaining resources. So my people, we have to understand the origins of race and understand where it came from and how it's used today against us, and how we are still that non-competitive group. That's all I got for now, y'all. Peace.